You were literally too stupid to insult.
Thank you.
RV Repair has the largest selection of popular and hard-to-find accessories and parts for your RV or camping trailer. At the same location in Santa Clarita for almost 50 years, Dave and his team haven't seen an RV issue they don't have a fix for. You don't believe me? Call them at 661-252-2470 with any issue that you might have, and I'll bet they have a solution for you. RV Repair offers free... Hey, we're back. You listen to The Real Side, not the right side, not the wrong side, but The Real Side. I'm your host, Joe Messina. Again, thank you so much for being involved in the conversation, for being involved in what's going on. It's the only way you're going to change things is you need to stand up and speak. You don't need to be mean. You don't need to be stupid about it. You know, use that God-given brain, the ability to think, and speak to people. Let people know what's going on around you. You know, you don't just sit there and keep it to yourself and believe you're right. You need to get out and let people help inform people, give them something to work with. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, a lot of good shows coming up, a lot of good guests coming on. Go ahead and check out therealside.com. You can watch live, you can listen live, you can get involved in the chat room. I expect people to work when they're listening to the show. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't do any good to sit there and stare at the radio. You got to work. Take it in. Ask questions. That's what the chat room is for. Anyhow, so, I've got Father Andrew Kemberling on, and we're talking about... Father, you still with me, right?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Good. And what I wanted to talk about when we come back from the break was stewardship.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time, but what does it mean?
Well, actually, I know a little something about that. I have a book I've written with Mrs. Mila Gladava. It's called Making Stewardship a Way of Life. It's with our Sunday Visitor, a complete guide for Catholic parishes. I'm a national speaker on stewardship, and so I know a little something about that. And you're right on it, Joe, talking about stewardship is the issue. And you use the words already. You use the word responsibility. Mm-hmm. And in the way we talk about responsibility has to deal with power. What do you mean power? Well, you have control or care of things, people, and places. Okay? And the most immediate is that you have the authority over them. You have the governance of them. You're in charge of them. And that's what responsibility is. And then accountability is how you have your obligations, your moral obligations to how you use the things, how you treat people, and how you treat the land that you're on. And those obligations come from morality. And that's where accountability comes. And so conscience is needed for you to have responsibility. If the government takes away your responsibility, then you're not accountable, and you don't need a conscience. If the government is set up like democracy is for private property, well, immediately when you have private property, you have obligations that come with it. Your ownership is not absolute. It comes with all kinds of obligations because of that responsibility. You know, first of all, from a religious standpoint, it isn't yours, it's God's. You're taking care of material goods. And so we teach that you have to give the first and your best back to God as a gift. That's called a tithe. Mm-hmm. But when you're working with people, when you're in charge of people and you're responsible, well, you have to respect their rights. You have to be able to, you don't give them their rights. God gives them their rights. You have to respect their rights and treat them with dignity. And you have to be fair and just.
But I'm going to step on your responsibility for a second.
Yeah, sure.
We as a society, I think it started in the early 80s when I read more and more how parenting changed dramatically in the early 80s. We've advocated our responsibility to the schools, to the authorities, so nobody knows who it belongs to, and frankly, nobody even knows what it is anymore.
That's right, and that's exactly the problem. People have their what's responsibility and accountability all screwed up. Kind of a funny story, Joe. I teach children all the time. I go to in the classroom. It's called Q&A with Father A. And they ask me questions, and little children are surprised that I know how to talk second grade, because I can talk that vocabulary. And one of an ongoing gag I have is I talk so simply, even the adults will understand.
Now, wait, I think you stole a line from my show. I always say, if I bring it down to the 6th grade level for you, because otherwise I'm confused
I would just say, what's the 5th grade? Are you smart as a 5th grader when it comes to responsibility and accountability? Let's just kind of like go over the facts again. Responsibility is what's in your care. It's about control and power. You have the control over things, those are belongings, people. And when we talk about persons, it's interesting. From a philosophic standpoint, corporations are persons. My parish is a person. And then there's persons within that person. I know that gets a little heady, but that's important that people understand. That's what we're talking about. Responsibility is when you're in charge of people, you are accountable, especially parents. It's your responsibility to make sure these children have moral values. If you haven't, and all you've done is, taught them what they like and dislike, well, come on, that'll lead to ruin. You have to teach them what's true, right, and wrong, and develop their consciences. And if people haven't developed their consciences and only their opinion, they have let themselves free of all responsibility, and then they feel like they're not accountable. That's part of the problem, Joe.
Well,
and I think you hit it right on the head.
And I think it's really funny because some Christians go to way to the one side where I've had people say, "Yeah, you Christians don't care about the earth or the ecosystem." And you go, you're out of your mind.
Of course we care.
We do, but we don't care about it more than we care about the human being.
That's right. We're not a plague on the earth. God created the earth for us, and it's a gift to us, and we have obligations because of our responsibility, and we're going to be held accountable. We can't steal future resources. We have to be able to renew them and hand the land back to people after we've used it and stewarded it. Same thing with our belongings. You just can't light it on fire and burn it. You're supposed to make it grow, and that's what God's going to hold us accountable for.
Yeah.
Here I gave you 2 coins. I expect 4. Here's 5. I expect 10. That's the growth. Well, how are you going to make it grow if you don't own it and take care of it?
Yeah, we could do hours and hours on this. One of my things I tell people all the time, even as a Christian, there is a point where I won't, for lack of a better way of putting it, you throw your hands up and say, "Look, I've been trying to feed you. I've been trying to help you. I've been trying to get you out of the mess you're in. You don't want the help."
Yeah.
Okay, and government is trying to force us to help people that don't want the help, that don't want to make changes, and it doesn't work that way. It's not
socialism
fair.
isn't going to get us there, and I must tell you, democracy actually reinforces the Christian ideas that most Catholics believe in. I would say it's certainly what Catholics believe in, most Christians believe in, is in the form of democracy, and that is what's going to get us to solve our problems. Socialism will not get us there, and we better stand up and fight, because they're going to take that responsibility and accountability away, and we aren't going to be able to use our consciences. We've read this book before. We know how it ends.
It doesn't work, no. So, Father, how do people get a hold of you? How do they find out more information about you, your church, and the book you've written?
Well, I'll tell you, we're right online, or we have our website, which is stthomasmore.org. And you can see all the many programs and activities we have here. There's a way to contact me online there. And the book is out of Our Sunday Visitor. It's on Amazon. You type in my name, and up will come up, Making Stewardship a Way of Life.
Great. Hey, Father, thank you so much for coming out with me today. I do appreciate your time.
You're more than welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Listen to The Real Side, not the right side, not the wrong side, but the real side. We'll be back in a minute with Jason. See if he got anything out of the show.